Alright, we're doing absolute value today. Absolute value bars look like this. They're just straight lines up and down. That's called absolute value bar or absolute value symbol. So first off, let's talk about what does it mean. Absolute value means distance from zero. And when we're talking about distance, we don't talk about distance in negative numbers. If I'm standing here, then my distance from zero is 3. If I'm standing at, if we look at this number line, here's 0, here's a positive 1, 2, 3. And if I'm standing right here, then I am 3 units from 0. Okay? Well, what if I was standing here at negative 3? Here's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. How far am I from 0? I am still 3 units from 0. Because I don't talk about distance. I don't say I'm negative 3 from 0. I'm 3 units from 0. So absolute value is distance from 0. But what does absolute value do? What it does is it makes anything positive. It makes any number positive. So there you go. What does it do? It makes any number positive because since it's distance from 0, distance is positive. So, for example, if you look at this, this means absolute value of negative 5. Well, what does it mean? It means distance from 0. If you're at negative 5, how far are you from 0? You are 5 units. So, 5. So, okay, what if you were at positive 5 from 0? Absolute value of a positive 5 is still just a positive 5. So, if you can't remember that absolute value means distance from 0, the main thing you need to remember is that any number that's inside of it, it makes it positive. So when there's a negative number inside the absolute value, it makes it positive, okay? How do we use absolute value? You still have to follow PEMDAS when you do all these problems. So in PEMDAS, absolute value falls in the same place as parentheses. You work absolute values just like they are parentheses, but they have a different meaning than parentheses. You do them first when you do parentheses, but then at the very end, after you do everything in the absolute value, the very last thing you do, the absolute value bars make something positive, okay? Let's look at 18C2. The best way to understand is just by doing it. Here, you have this problem. You follow PEMDAS. What does PEMDAS say to do first? Parentheses and exponents. So we're going to do everything in our absolute value bar because we're going to treat it like parentheses, but it's not parentheses. So now inside here we have to follow PEMDAS. So what do we do first? We do division. Do everything in your absolute value bar first before you make it positive. Okay, so I'm going to write my absolute value bars because I haven't done that actual step yet. 10 divided by 2, 5. Then minus 8. Still do what's in your absolute value. 5 minus 8. If you have 5, you get in debt 8. You are still in debt negative 3. And I haven't done my absolute value bars yet, so I keep them. Now I do the absolute value bars. I get all the way down to one number inside the absolute value, then I will do the absolute value. What does absolute value do? What it means is distance from 0, but what it does, it makes anything positive. Anything that's in there becomes positive. So the absolute value of negative 3 is a positive 3. Alright, let's look at 18C number 8. You have to follow PEMDAS for all of these. PEMDAS says do parentheses, absolute value first. So we're going to do everything in our absolute value. Now let's do inside there, we have to do in our parentheses first. So we're going to do that. So keep your absolute value symbols because you haven't done that. In the parentheses, do your exponents. 9 squared, 81. Divided by 9, divided by 3. I'm rewriting everything just like it is if I haven't done it. Now I need to do this next. Parentheses, 81 divided by 9. Write your absolute value symbols because you haven't done that yet. 81 divided by 9, 9. Now I can drop my parentheses since I did what's in the parentheses. Divided by 3. Now do 9 divided by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Don't drop your absolute value bars until you've done them. I only did 9 divided by 3. Now the absolute value of a positive 3, the absolute value makes anything positive. If it's already positive inside there, it just stays positive. So the absolute value of positive 3 is just positive 3. Now I can drop my symbols because I've done the absolute value. Go to 18C7. You just do these one step at a time, okay? So PEMDAS says do parentheses absolute value bars first. So I need to do everything that's inside here, okay? Now looking inside there, I need to do this first because this is parentheses and exponents. Be careful. You have negative 10 with parentheses squared. Is that going to be a positive number or negative number? Be careful because your exponent is outside the parentheses. This means negative 10 times negative 10. It means the whole parentheses times itself. And that would become a positive 100. So that would be positive 100 minus 9. Don't lose your absolute value bars because you haven't done them yet. Now let's go to this next set. Let's do our exponents. 2 squared is 4 minus, don't lose that subtraction sign, 5 squared, 25. Now we can do inside of our absolute value bars, okay? 100 minus 9, 91. Okay, I haven't done my absolute value bars, so don't lose them. Minus, that's that subtraction sign right there. Now do inside here, don't lose your, we haven't done absolute value, so you still need those. 4 minus 25. You have 4, you get in debt 25, you will be in debt 16. 15 minus 4. 11. 21. I'll get it right one of these times. So, negative 21. Now do absolute value for each one. The absolute value of a positive 91 is just still positive 91. The absolute value of a positive number will always be positive. The absolute value of a negative number becomes positive. Absolute value symbols just makes anything positive, but you have to get down to a single number in there first before you can actually do the absolute value. Don't lose that subtraction sign. Don't do a negative negative like we do with parentheses. You can't do that. This subtraction sign stays. This is in the absolute value, so you do that. The absolute value of a negative 21 is a positive 21. So be careful and don't lose your signs. Now 91 minus 21 should be 70, and that would be your final answer. Alright, now we can take all this information, looking at 18C14, we are solving. We are solving for the unknown. The other problems we were just simplifying and getting an answer. Now we have something on both sides of the equal sign and we have a letter, so that means we're going to use all of this to solve for the unknown. So we're still using PEMDAS. So PEMDAS says you work your inside your absolute values first and your parentheses. Okay, so two things that I want to point out with this problem is I want to point out this and this. Do you see how one of them, the negative is outside the parentheses, and the other one, the negative is inside the parentheses? Okay, this one, your negative is going to stay in front. You do your exponent first. PEMDAS says do exponents first, and then this one stays in front. So that right there ends up becoming a negative 4. We haven't done absolute value, so don't lose that. So cover that up, do your 2 squared first, then that negative stays out in front. And then this is that subtraction sign, 4. There's the absolute value, negative 7r. Here, this means, if you do your exponent, it means the whole parentheses times itself. And inside that parentheses is a negative 2. So when the negative is inside the parentheses, it's being hugged. And so a negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 4. So watch your signs. Okay? So now PEMDAS says I still do parentheses and absolute value. Absolute value falls in the same step as parentheses. So I need to do in my absolute value. Negative 4, negative 4. You're in debt 4, you're in debt more 4. So then you're in debt 8. That still needs to be an absolute value symbols because you haven't done the absolute value yet. Over here on the right hand side, what can I combine? I can combine my R's. So I'm in debt 7, someone gives me 5, I'm still in debt 2. Okay, 2R. Now I can combine my numbers. I have 4, I give away 2, means I have 2, so just watch your signs. Now, I still need to do my absolute value. I can't do anything until I get rid of absolute value. So the absolute value of a negative 8 is a positive 8. Absolute value makes anything positive. Negative 2r plus 2r plus 2. Now I need to get letters on one side and numbers on the other side. It doesn't matter what side your letter's on, so I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to move my 2, which means I need to subtract 2. I have to do the opposite of what's there. So those go away. 8 minus 2, 6. Equals negative 2r. Do not lose that negative sign. Now I need to solve for r, which means I need to get rid of the negative 2. How do I do that? That means negative 2 times r, so I have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I divide by negative 2, which means I have to divide this side by negative 2 as well. That becomes 1. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is a positive 1. Positive 6 divided by negative 2. Positive divided by negative is a negative. So it would be negative 3 equals r. And hallelujah, we don't have to check these. The instructions don't say anything about checking. You will be glad about that.